Maggie had always been an independent woman, but she regretted her decision to drive alone across the country the moment her car broke down on a deserted highway. The sun had already set, and the moon was the only source of light in the sky. She got out of her car to take a look at the engine, hoping to fix the problem herself, but she had no idea what she was doing. That's when she saw him, a tall man with dark hair and piercing blue eyes, walking towards her on the side of the road. Maggie was hesitant, but the man looked friendly enough, so she asked for his help. "Can you help me fix my car?" she asked, her voice shaky. The man nodded and approached her, introducing himself as Adam. He seemed kind and helpful, and Maggie felt relieved to have found someone who could help her. Adam lifted the hood of her car and started to tinker with the engine. After a few minutes, he looked up at her and said, "I'm sorry, but it looks like you're going to need a new part. I have one at my place not too far from here. I can drive you there and help you fix your car." Maggie hesitated for a moment, but she didn't have any other options. "Okay," she said. "Thank you for your help." As they drove down the dark, deserted road, Maggie couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Adam. He was too quiet, and his eyes seemed to glint in the moonlight. She tried to start a conversation, but he only gave her short, clipped answers. When they arrived at his house, Maggie couldn't believe her eyes. It was a dilapidated old mansion, with peeling paint and broken windows. The garden was overgrown and there were no lights on inside. "Where's your family?" Maggie asked, trying to make small talk. Adam's face darkened. "They're not here," he said. "It's just me." Maggie's heart started pounding in her chest. She realized that she was alone in a strange man's house, with no way to call for help. "Let me fix your car," Adam said, leading her to the garage. "It won't take long." As he worked on the car, Maggie tried to find a phone, but there was no reception in the area. She tried to leave, but the door was locked from the outside. That's when she heard the sound of footsteps coming from the other side of the door. They were slow and deliberate, and she knew that they were coming for her. Maggie panicked and started banging on the door, screaming for help, but no one came. She was trapped, with no way out. When the door finally opened, Maggie saw Adam standing in the doorway, holding a knife. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, his voice low and menacing. Maggie tried to run, but he caught her and dragged her back into the house. She was thrown into a dark, damp cellar with no windows or doors. She was trapped. For days, Maggie was kept in that cellar, with no food or water. She heard strange noises coming from the darkness, and she knew that she wasn't alone down there. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maggie was rescued by the police. Adam was arrested, but he never told them what he had done to the other women that he had trapped in his house. Maggie thought that she had finally escaped from the horror, but she soon realized that she had only scratched the surface. In the weeks that followed her ordeal, Maggie began to experience strange things. She would wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like she was being watched. She would hear whispers coming from the shadows and feel cold hands brushing against her skin. She tried to brush it off as her imagination, but the feeling only grew stronger. She would see glimpses of Adam's face in her nightmares and feel his presence in her waking hours. One day, as she was walking home from work, Maggie heard the sound of footsteps behind her. She turned around, but there was no one there. The footsteps continued, growing louder and closer until she felt a hand on her shoulder. Maggie spun around, ready to scream, but she was met with an empty street. She tried to shake off the feeling, but it only grew stronger as the days passed. That's when she started to receive strange letters in the mail. They were written in spidery handwriting, with cryptic messages that made her blood run cold. The letters were signed Adam, and they spoke of his undying love for her and his desire to keep her locked away in his house forever. Maggie knew that she had to do something before it was too late. She went to the police. There was nothing they could do.